America, we love you, you're big and empty, and the years of self-discovery thinly peopled with non-people, nature people, or devotees of fallen angels or Satan's spawn, and bands sparse and harsh and savage honest, only from naivety and simplicity in the oldest of arts, deceit and craft Ulyssean, but less demand for refinement of the old art of the forked tongue when young and sparse among the nature peoples. The bow shoots straight, and in no man's land the savage makes a good partner for trade and war. He can sell you prime real estate for a song, and access to your god, beads and odds and ends. And in war he is grand and splintered, set flint to steel in the new magic arrow cannon, set sights and gun on enemies for new allies, when old enemies surely should have better buried hatchets in the new foe ally, had and found cause for worry in the new tribe and become Americans. Set sights and gun on enemies for new allies, when old enemies surely should have better buried hatchets in the new foe allies' head, and found cause for worry in the new tribe and become Americans. America, you had no name then, had to name them. What were you but a dream and legend, some land some men had trekked on, some Ericsson, some Arthur, some Brendan, some unsung Volsung, and unremembered men from east and west, lily-pad jumped ice in earlier ages, or island hopped to western coasts Pacific voyages, a dream also, a new power in the world, for a new power rising on the western isles, no isles of bliss, or blessed isles, Elysian or Hesperidian, no Thule or Atlantan isles, but British isles, peered covetously, unmerrily, always covetous of the new hemisphere and new power sphere. Spanish eyes too longed for renewal at the new jewel. Could eyes measure, fathom the scale of the new jewel? Its inconvenient heathen peoples, so pure, so Adamic, so un-Edenic. What a question mark in a bark to take on epidemic, rising waters, a question mark and turned corner, a morn slaughter later for museums, like failed crusades and failed inquisitions, a question mark, splintering Christendom, schisms, grabbing hold, not letting go, breaking his body yet again and breaking his bride in, never again to break bread together or in communion common stride. New land and new truths, new dreams too, new routes, new sources of revenue. Gold for Spanish galleons, slaves for Spanish ships and Sephard merchants. Arab vessels and Anglo pirates live on the high seas and covet the rich empty lands. Gold in south, rich soil, black in north, old Babylons in center and south. Sacrifice for the mouths of other Aztec Molochs, beating hearts to eat for beating hearts up north. Some planters and others eat raw fish. Some love peace and others wage war as torture experts. Some laze lethargic, others create and progress the Western species. Puritans and vagabonds expelled or self-exiled from violently roiled Albion, the Isle seed, many empty lands of nature peoples, non-peoples. Are they people? Does it matter? Is it not just to be unnatural that makes one people? Pushed off their lands by lords into factories, now they claim the open, endless commons of common, forgotten humanity, and they capitalize on it, shell out swaths as large as nations to absentee lords and Virginia gents, first families, well-dressed planters, import diseases for the pure and export tobacco, fair trade, death-laden for all. And let us not forget the slaves, that too is American, Anglo, Spanish, Jewish, the waning of all that was Catholic in power. While the rebel money power waxes in its time and casts its moon-pullin', moon-glow, grin, and stamps its image and night-visage on the new world's new tides, a protest against all the previous millennia's expectation of the return of the a protest against all the previous millennia's expectations of the return of the king's son, while kings all across old Europe sat on shaky thrones under the shadow of the dark wing of the new money power. When comes their hour to fall, the time of kings soon over? Money rises and man becomes mobile, the first stroke of a murderous mobility, first transgression of a murderous nobility, needed to fill the story, the project, the arc and meaning of old, holy history. This is a land for experiments, for magic and technic and large scales of trade and travel, war, and mobility and ruthlessness, and vicious wars and slaughters, and pure ideological mass murder, and racialistic slavery and workaday genocide, not carried out by mad states, but man-to-man, hand-to-hand combat, like Sapiens versus Neanderthals, played out again, compressed in time and pressed in ink and page and line, so we can face it in our purity and memory and pride. A time for experiments in money-getting, heaping piles and elite networks of money men and spies and powers and cutthroats to perfect democracy, the rule of men without them knowing they're ruled. A new perfect art to rule facelessly, that is American. Informalism, exceptional. Waitress, we're going to need a lot of new dazzling tools, tech and weapons, a lot of pop music, flashy cans and brand names, drugs and soda, grandstanding and moralizing, backwoods rhetoricians, some bravery, much knavery, much energy, makeup, gritty realism, esoteric, and fantasy, nostrums and promises, exoteric, politics for new races and big spaces, with no history and no immunity, you, America, like your natives. We will need people, waitress, lots of people. Cram 'em in from the lowermost rung of old Europe's castes. And energetic ones, too, to work and breathe fast and breed fast and stamp service with a new ethic. Lots of land cheap, lots of labor cheap, lots of talk cheap, lots of lives cheap, to squander on big projects. The earth is big, and she can eat them up and drink up much blood, much to reap in the harvest, and many monsters to grow in fields of wheat and cotton, corn and tobacco. History is long, and there is much time to forgive. A land of snakes to clear, like old times before pen and ink, lots of forests and lakes. A free brood of wonderful flesh of moose and elk, bison and man, mountain lion and lion, and a free brood of wonderful flesh of moose, elk, bison and man, mountain lion and men, leonine. To let men be hunters again, hunters on the earth like Nimrod, breathe mountain air and mountain freedom, a minute before mountain and plain leveled, and rote work again, the order of the day for all. Paradise fallen, equalized with the old world, the native favored son taken by surprise. O waitress, give us guidebooks of trickery, ill wisdom from winds western, over the ocean to manage masses of men, ill-fitting robes from makeshift magic, and all the best of Europe's rogues to build replicas on a massive scale, and lodges and great stone edifices, and ideas and works and ethnic hatreds, and class wars without structures and crowns, to topple from heads and melt down by rulers without faces for stone men. And waitress, make us no small dollop of perfect vanity, self-love and pride of greatness, even in the smallest of us. Let him declare, proclaim his freedom and ruggedness, so he may more nimbly undercut his brother, mow down his neighbor, and sell himself more cheaply to the shameless knaves and nameless state, and the oilmen and salesmen and the power snakes and the Eastern Bank and State hydra-headed. We love you, America. We love your blood and transgressions. We love your biases and prejudices. We love your inversions of morality. We love your hypocrisy. We love your gaudy originals. We love your flashes of youth. We loved your oversized towers, squandering of lives and power, your mud and megatherions. We love your Big Macs and big gulps, big hopes and big dreams to own mobile millions and live in thin-walled dwellings with thins and live. We love your big gulps and Big Macs. We love your Big Macs and big gulps, big hopes and big dreams to own mobile millions and live in. We love your Big Macs and big gulps, big hopes and big dreams to own mobile millions and live in thin-walled dwellings with thin screens and lottery winnings, own the world and wear flat-brimmed caps and drink from full-brimming cups, and from privileged perches dream of crime paying and watch it pay. And alienated from the world we own, escape and responsibility, flee, free, and turn our backs on old dreams, our true art, escape, a new start always, a new start. To redo all of the sins and all of the faults of our fathers on grandest stage, but to redo all of the sins and all of the faults of our fathers on grandest stage, but dwarf comic farce. America, I reckon our aging weapons and technological edge is fleeting, and when gone will reveal much that was hollow pretense, show up much hidden sickness, and show we were never worthy to be. Mystery Babylon, never strong enough to lift a true dark wing over the world. The world will need much greater evil to complete the arc, play the part in the drama, fulfill the art that is the world, history, the vintner's story.